Hey up everybody, and welcome back to the Audio Cycling YouTube channel, where today we get to take a look at the VELOGAMES Italy competition for Giro d'Italia. I'm super excited about this, and I thought I'd do a video today where I haven't looked at any of the rider prices. The competition was released today, and I've been out riding my bike this morning. I've come back, seen the competition is available, and I'm just going to do a bit of a live reaction recording of me looking at rider prices, because I realise that sometimes I don't do this, and actually these initial reactions and initial thoughts can be sometimes actually quite good for making teams, because if you've done VELOGAMES for a long time and you have a bit of an intuition for what is a good or perhaps not as good value for money in a rider, then that can be really important for thinking about your teams, because you can neglect that and think yourself out of your gut feeling picks, whereas actually those can sometimes be the best. So, all right, before I just take a look at the rider prices, I'm gonna kind of throw some things out there that I'm thinking about who's gonna cost what. So I think the first thing is we'll see if Roglic and Ayuso are both in probably the all-round category, or whether the Georges split them up. I think Roglic will cost 24, 26. I think Ayuso will cost 22, 24 credits. Adam Yates might cost something like 18. Del Toro will be 12. McNulty 10. Jay Vine maybe like 12. I think those UE riders are going to be scattered amongst the all-rounders and climber category. I don't think you'll see many in the unclassified. You might even see Baroncini as a sprinter. In terms of the sprinters, I think you'll see probably Pedersen, Groves and Coy, and obviously Wout and Art probably being the most expensive. I think they'll all hover somewhere around 14, 12, 10 credits. Realistically, probably around the 12 credits. I think Pedersen might be the most expensive because of its versatility. I think Tarling will probably cost 8 credits as an unclassified rider. And I think like Arensman and Bernal, they'll probably be like 12, 10 credits, something like that. But anyway, let's take a look. Here we are. Roglic is 24. Wow, there's actually quite a big drop-off in this. Okay. So Tiberi's the same cost as last year at 14 credits. G's a lot more expensive than he was at the Tour last year, where he was 8 credits and he was in the unclassified. Arensman's 10, like I thought. Del Toro's a little bit less expensive. I think that Roglic and Ayuso, that's actually a decent-ish value for money. It's a very back-heavy Giro, so you're going to see a lot of those GC points coming later on. So I'm not sure how the climbers will do. Oh, it doesn't scroll. Oh, that's it. Okay, that's interesting. There's not loads to be going at here. I'd probably say, Roglic and Ayuso are the most tempting ones here for me. Then, like Tiberi and G, I'm not sure about, to be honest. I think like Derek G last year in the Tour, where okay, he might do a bit better than that, but G got, I think he was like 900-ish, 950 points in the Giro, in the Tour last year. So he's going to have to do better than that, and a bit and some to get to the kind of 1,200 point mark. I think a Arensman at 10 credits is actually quite good. He generally gets 1,000, like at least 1,000. And the time trialing is going to be super important as well. So getting those guys like Roglic, Ayuso and Arensman are going to be really crucial, because they get those time trialing points and then those daily GC points from quite early on. Arensman did get dropped at the beginning of Giro last year, if you remember. So he kind of dropped out GC, but then came back and finished still like in 6th place. So I think a Arensman could be a really good value for money pick here at 10 credits if you weren't to go with the Roglic-Ayuso combination, which I think will be quite popular, especially at 24 and 20 credits. That's actually quite good for people who are, well, essentially the riders who are the two favourites. And then there's a more budget picks. You've got Bilbao, Kelderman, McNulty, Vine. You might see people pick these as wild cards. I think somebody like McNulty or Vine could be really good, especially Vine after that really good Romandy, the time trials as well. So like after the TTs, he might be near like 150, 200 points, and he's only, some breakaways away, all finishing inside the top 10 maybe as well. Jay Vine hasn't done really a GC performance in a Grand Tour before, so that would be quite interesting to see. Del Toro's maybe a little bit risky at 10 credits. I think that Arensman is just a bit safer, but yeah, I mean, obviously, this is just a bit of a preliminary reaction to this. So, if you want to hear a more in-depth analysis about this, come back tomorrow because I'll be going through these in a bit more of a traditional preview style. So let's take a look at the climbers. Yates is 16, so I thought he was going to be 18. Lander's 14, that's quite a lot. Bernal's 12, Carapaz, Stora's 12. Makes sense after his really good Tour of the Alps. Simon Yates. My only problem with a lot of these guys is, I mean, they don't have the greatest TT, so they're pretty much limited to getting their points either from breakaways, which they might not be allowed to do as a GC favourite, or they have to wait until the last 5 days, and that's just got inherent risk because it's every stage is an opportunity where somebody might DNF a race or get ill or whatever. So it's an inherent risk to bank, over a tenth of your team's budget on somebody who is going to only be realistically scoring big in the last week. Ciccone at 10 is decent. I quite like that. Hindley, as a previous winner, he was 10 credits when he won the race back in 2022. But yeah, Ciccone I quite like. I think he'll go for GC rather than stages. Yeah, I don't know. None of these are massively jumping out to me. I might try and save credits here. Bardet at 8 in his kind of farewell. Giro d'Italia, I think he might well go for breakaways, of which I think there will be quite a lot. I think it might be worthwhile picking riders here who will go in a breakaway, because I think there's plenty of mountain stages where there's a really hard kind of mountain in the middle, and then perhaps a bit of a softer finish, or a softer climb to finish. Caruso was very good in Tour of the Alps, and I think that 8 credits he could be good as if he gets, a sneaky top 10, gets in the breakaway a little bit. Tiberi wasn't that great in Tour of the Alps. I don't know how he's going after that. And I think that Caruso could be sneaky because he's finished 3rd and 4th in this race. Gaudu, probably not. Just based on Tour of the Alps, he was dropped really early. Max Poole, it's interestingly the same prices as Bardet. I guess that's because he finished higher up in Tour of the Alps, even if Bardet's got more pedigree. Nairo's 8. I thought maybe he'd be 6 credits, but I guess George has picked up on his sneakily decent performances. Rubio was the same price last year, and he was worth it at 8 credits, so that's interesting. Steinhauser, yeah, after his good performances last year, yeah, I guess it makes sense that he goes to 8 credits. I thought maybe he'd still be 6 credits, but be in the climber category to kind of force our hand a little bit. Zahn is usually pretty safe just to get in breakaways. I think that Jake Walula will be very focused on that. That seems to be what their press release says. Frigo's 6. I thought maybe he'd be in an unclassified still, so that was one I was probably going to select, but in the climber category, I don't know. This one's actually kind of tricky because I'm not a massive fan of many of these. The 6 credit riders even, I'm not the biggest fan of. There's nobody here I'm oh, that's a great one. Maybe Cepeda, but he always just baits you in after a Tour of the Alps performance, doesn't he? Maybe Frigo could be good in the climber category. Mienquez, who else would I go with? Be somebody to go in the breakaway, like Caruso I quite like, or maybe you go for some of the 10 credit riders. I'm probably not going to go with somebody like Landa, is the thing. I think the sprinters actually is going to be really interesting to see. So Wout's 16 credits. Hellfire. Okay. I guess could he be worth it? He's going to need to basically do what he did in the Tour in 2022 again, which I'm not sure if he'll be able to do. Pedersen at 14, yeah, that makes sense. He's the most versatile, and he'll probably try and win the Ciclamina jersey. He's been in great form this year. Not the fastest out-and-out sprinter. I actually think that Groves at 10 credits is really jumping out at me as somebody who has done very well in plenty of Grand Tours. He's won multiple Grand Tour stages, finished on the podium plenty of times. And I say in an out-and-out flat sprint, Coy's probably the fastest, but I'd say that Groves is a pretty close second. And at 10 credits, I think that's good, especially since Groves climbs quite well. So I like Groves at 10 credits, actually. Would you go with a double sprinter strategy? I'd say, a double sprinter strategy is safe, but would not be the most optimal points per credit, just because there's only maybe like 5 or 6 absolute sprints going to happen in this race, I would say. If you pick more of a versatile sprinter, that might go up to another couple of stages. Bennett, I think my problem is that with the sprinters, for them to be kind of quote-unquote worth it, they're going to need to finish, let's say if you're an 8 credit sprinter, you're going to need to finish at least an average of 6th or 5th place in all of the flat sprints, and they're just a little bit unpredictable as sprints. Magnier possibly, but there's also Lamperty here. You know what? Lonardi. I actually thought that if Lonardi is 6 credits, I think that's really good bang for buck. He's been very good in Turkey. He climbs pretty well. He's been in good form this year. So I think Lonardi as a 6 credit rider is very good. Moschetti as well. Doesn't have the climbing ability of Lonardi, but has more out-and-out speed. So might crack the top 5 a little bit more regularly in some of the flat sprints. Cantor, pretty consistent. So is Fretin. Van Uden, wasn't actually that great in Turkey. Zylard will be there for the flat sprints. Ploymers isn't in here, so maybe Ploymers will be an unclassified. So that's interesting. Govakar, you got these kind of more versatile sprinters. I'm quite liking Groves and I'm liking Lonardi. The unclassifieds. Oh, where's Tarling? Is Tarling 6? Oh, he is? Oh, now that's interesting. Actually, Pidcock completely slipped my mind. Okay. Pidcock would be interesting if he goes for breakaways. If he goes for GC, it's not going to be worth it. But if he goes for breakaways, like Pidcock for that opening stage, plenty of punchy stages, like I mentioned, plenty of big mountain stages, but with softer mountains to finish, I think that Pidcock could be a really interesting choice. So I like him. Scaroni, Ulissi, Vatsek, generally you find, and I haven't done the statistics on this just yet, but the 8 credit riders just don't really hit that much. I don't know why, but like Derek G was an exception last year in the Tour de France. Vatsek obviously is, he's been moved from the sprinter to the unclassified rider after the Vuelta, but he's gone up in price because of his time trialing ability, but he won't be sprinting because Pedersen's here, so that's maybe a little bit of a throttle limiter on him. But let's go into the 6 credit riders. This is where things get interesting, because this is generally where you see really good value for money. Affini, a couple of TTs, but outside of that, probably not too much. Baroncini, if he gets to sprint, even if it's just on the last day and he gets assist points throughout and maybe a decent time trial or 2, Baroncini could well be alright. Bouchard, Mr. KOM classification. Speaking of which, Cone Bauman as well. That's actually quite good. I might expect that he could have been in the climber category. So Bauman, as a previous KOM classification winner, with Jayco looking to get in the breakaway lots, is really interesting. Do you know what else is interesting? Chris Harper hasn't come up yet, and he is going to be their GC leader, apparently. So he's going to be in here somewhere. So that's quite cool. Brenner's been on good form this year, but I do fear how he's going to be used alongside, Storer. Is he just going to be used as a domestique all the time? That's a little bit of a worry. Catania will put in a couple of good TTs. And Soudal Quickstep don't have that many climbers in this race outside of like Landa and Garofoli. So I think Catania might be a decent shout just for the time trialing little kind of boost that he gets. That's an interesting one. Who else is jumping out at me? Depreto. He's not that much of a pure sprinter. He's only there for the kind of punchy sprints, of which there aren't that many. Fiorelli, actually. Is it Fiorelli that's the sprinter for Bardiani, or am I getting things mixed up? Like Fiorelli, wait a minute. Just give me a second. This is really bad. This makes me look pretty amateurish. Fiorelli. Fiorelli could be interesting, because look, he's getting like top 10s. Yeah. Or is he just more of like a breakaway guy? I don't know. Anyway. Godon. as a sprinty type, but they've got, you know, Bennett here, so maybe not. There's Harper. That's money. That's money right there. Harper is going for GC. I don't think he'll score very highly across many stages unless he gets him a break, because his time trialing is okay, but probably not enough to crack a top 10. His climbing's good, but probably not good enough to crack a top 10. It'll be a bit like, do you remember when Kemner went for GC in the Giro a few years ago? It'll be a bit like that. Hayter, wow, okay. It's interesting because I don't know if Hayter will be sprinting. They've got Magnier and Lamperty here, but as a TT guy, that's quite good. Hermans, he'll only get opportunities if Groves is in trouble. Conrad I quite like as a breakaway guy. Bart Lemon as well, very similarly. Plapp at 6 credits. Wow. I mean, this is a guy who last year was 10 credits, I think, as a GC kind of guy. So Plapp at 6 is really interesting with him and Harper. That's like 2 really good picks. And Pidcock. I mean, gosh, it's going to be hard to actually choose the 6 credit riders this year. Ploymers is quite a cool one as well. Prodom, considering that Decathlon don't have that many climbers, he won a stage in Tour of the Alps. Yeah, I think that's quite a decent one. Stanimitic was good in, what was it, Romandy. I think he was like top 20 GC. Tarling's really good as well. I mean, gosh, he's probably the best TTer in this race. And if he wins those 2 time trials, okay, he's not at the 100 points per credit, but he's pretty close already. He only needs to do well in like some other random stage and he'll be pretty good. Zambanini isn't bad either. Valgren as well. Yeah, those are some interesting ones. The Bice brothers, always good for a breakaway or 2. Czerny for a TT. Garofoli, like I mentioned earlier, one of the only real climbers for Soudal Quickstep. So at 4 credits, I like that. I think that he's a really interesting talent. So certainly watch out for him. Nobody else is really jumping out at me. Marcelluzzi, a bit of a puncher. He was alright in Tour of the Alps, so you might go with him. Malaysia for a top 15 or 2 in the time trials. Remy Rojas at 4 credits. Florian Stork, I actually was looking out for him, just because he was pretty good in Tour of the Alps. He got that top 10 on the first day, and I think that he could well get in some breakaways. Van Baal at 4. My word, what has happened? That's quite... I mean, I don't think he'll be doing that much, but okay. That's all very interesting. Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to comprehend everything that's hitting my my brain at the moment. Right. Do you know what? Let's just, for the fun of it, let's make a team. I'd probably go with Roglic and Ayuso. I don't know, this is just how I operate. I do kind of a weird format where I don't go in like sequential order. I'd probably go with Tarling, and I'd probably go with, it'll be Plapp or Harper. I think that would be the most logical choice here. Or Conrad's a little bit more risky. Catania, just because he gets to TTs. Bauman. I might go with... but Plapp was just dropped pretty hard, you know, in Romandy. Okay, let's just go Harper for now. Sprinter, I'd go with Groves. How much we got? We've got 24 credits left. Would I go with Caruso? Maybe. I might have to do that. I don't really like this climber category, guys, to be honest. I'm struggling to find these people that I like. No, maybe I'd go with Caruso. Nobody here's just got that TT ability, you know. I'm looking at guys who are just here for trying to get in a mountain breakaway. Like maybe I'd go with Frigo. Okay, I've got 18 credits left. Maybe it's more important to go with a wild card here that I like. Now, if I went with Pedersen, okay, I can't go with Pedersen. I could go with Coy in a 6. I could go with a Rensman I did like, actually. I was speaking a lot about him at the start. Pidcock, yeah, I like. If I wanted to go maybe with like Jay Vine, actually. Yeah, these 8. I mean, I'd probably, maybe with a Rensman or with Jay Vine. And then I got 8 here, so I could go a cruiser. Bang! There you go. That's the team. Not saying that this will be the absolute, be-all, end-all team. I'm quite limited, I feel, on the mountain breakaway points here, but oh well, that is what it is. Anyway, that's my kind of initial reaction to the rider pricings. I hope you found this somewhat useful. And be sure to come back tomorrow. I'll be going through a bit more of a in-depth analysis. So the plan is, this video, I'll do my regular preview analysis, and I'm going to do a kind of longer format one with some of the guys from last year, if you remember those longer format podcast style videos. And then I'll be revealing my final team on Thursday before the race starts on Friday. So let me know what you're thinking in the comment section down below. What are your initial thinkings on these rider pricings? You don't need to give a whole team just yet. I realise we're early doors. And all that is left to say is to stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao.